Good morning dear students, warm welcome to our 20th online class. Today's our topic is about second and third type of online payment, that is electronic cheque and the smart card. What is meant by an electronic cheque? It is like a paper cheque which is used traditionally. So, the paper cheque which is used in traditional time, it is replaced by the e-cheque, that means electronic cheque. It is depending upon the Negotiable Instrument Act 1988, there is an amendment in 2002. After that, we implement the new type of cheque, that is electronic cheque, which is digitally signed by the users. That is an important factor about the electronic cheque. Next one we want to discuss today, that is the smart card. It is a plastic card embedded with a computer chip. In this computer chip we can store the different data and it have a memory about the data. Okay, so this is about the our topic, today's topic, that is electronic cheque and the smart card. First of all, we start with the e-cheque. What is meant by a e-cheque and the properties and the procedure and the advantages and disadvantages of e-cheque. So, I already told that an electronic cheque which is replaced or eliminated the old paper cheque and new implementation is done, that is known as the electronic cheque. So, an electronic cheque is an electronic document which substitutes the paper cheque for online transaction. For motivating or developing the online transaction, the electronic cheque is implemented by the technical world or the global world. For electronic cheque work the same functions of a paper cheque and are legally binding promise to pay. What is the meaning of a cheque? The cheque is a bill of exchange. It gives an order to the bank to give a certain amount to a particular person which is noted in the cheque. When the person is requested, that is known as a cheque. It is a negotiable instrument. A cheque is a negotiable instrument. So, likewise in the e-cheque also the payer account holder writes an e-cheque. So, who writes the e-cheque? That is the payer or the account holder writes an e-cheque. But for writing we use the computer or electronic device is used to write, that is a second factor, and transmit the e-cheque to the payee electronically. The transferring mode is the electronical, it is transferred to the payee. So, this is an important features of an electronic cheque. It is the payer or the account holder writes an e-cheque. For writing we must utilize an electronic device like the computer or laptop and transmit this e-cheque to the payees through electronically. So, for this digital signatures are used by the account holders or the payers. Digital signatures are used for signing and endorsing electronic cheque. What is the meaning of endorsement? Transfer one person to the another person. Who is transferring, that is the endorser, to whom it is transferred, that is the endorsee. So, here after signing the document we will transfer or endorse the cheque to another person, that is endorsing the electronic cheque. Public networks such as the internet deliver electronic cheques. Electronic payment, that is the deposits are gathered by banks. After signing the electronic cheque, it will be electronically transferred to the payee. At that time the banks or financial institutions function starts. They gathered all the e-payment checks or electronic payment checks and cleared through existing banking channels such as automated clearing houses. All banking institutions transfer their fund in a particular place that is known as clearing house. The clearing house transfer all payments and the collections, that is interconnection with the different banks. Sometimes we will deposit South Indian Bank's check into State Bank of India's bank account. At that time, in the clearing house transfer South Indian Bank's account fund to South Indian Bank's account fund. That is the function done by the clearing house. So, the clearing house maintains a server to transfer the fund to different financial institutions. Okay. So, in India, all checks are legally provided by the Negotiable Instrument Act. The Negotiable Instrument Act 1988 give the explanation about the legality or the validity of the check. But there is an amendment in 2002. After that, we will implement the electronic check. So, first of all, we must know about what is the meaning of a check. Already BCom students know about the meaning of a check, but you, the BA English students, does not know what is the legal definition of a check. So, we must go through the definition of a check. So, a check is a bill of exchange. It is used for exchanging. So, it is called by the name bill of exchange. Drawn on a specified banker. Who is the drawer? Drawer is a specified banker and not expressed to be payable otherwise than on demand. It is payable at the time of demanding by the customer or the account holder. Okay. And it includes the electronic image of truncated check. So, that is a cut short. Truncated means short form or cut short. The face and the tail is cut. That is the form of electronic image of a truncated check and a check in the electronic form, that is known as a check. So, a check is a bill of exchange drawn on a specified banker. It will be paid after the demand request received from the customer and have a electronic image, and the check is in the electronic form, that is known as check. Okay, clear. So, payers and payees can be individuals, business or financial institutions such as banks. So, I already said that there are two participants, they are payer and the payee. The payer can be an account holder and payee which wants the fund, that person is the payee. So, there must be two participants, payer and payee. These payer and payee may be individuals or business or any financial institution. Okay. E-checks are transferred directly from the payer to the payee, so that the timing and purpose of the payment are clear to the payee. So, that is an important factor of the e-check transaction. The payer writes an e-check by structuring an electronic document with the information legally required to be in check and digitally signs it. I already discussed the payer or the account holder firstly write the electronic document using an electronic device which gives an information legally required to be in a check and digitally signs by the account holder or the payer. After that, the payer transfers the electronic check to the payee. The payer receives the e-check over email or the web, that is the transferring mode using the online, verify the payer's digital signature and writes out a deposit and digitally signs it. That is the next procedure which is done by the payee. Next one, the payee's bank verifies the payer's check and payee's digital signatures and then forward the check for clearing and settlement to their bank, that is the payee's bank. The payer's bank verifies the payer's digital signature and debits the payer's account. Likewise, a paper check, e-checks can bounce or to be returned. What is the reason to bounce or return? If there is no fund or there is a mismatching of the digital signature which is embedded in the electronic check, so or there is a change or overwriting of the check or the date is changed. Likewise, these reasons are behind the bouncing or returning the check. If the checks are bounced or returned for stop payment instruction, insufficient funds or accounts being closed. So, these are the main reasons for bouncing or returning the check. So, this is about the electronic check. So, first of all, it is an electronic document which gives or demands the payment of a certain amount to the other person who is writing the electronic check, that is the payer or the account holder. How it will write, that is by using the electronic document. It is transferred through online to the payee. After that, the payee verifies the digital signature which is embedded in the e-check. After that, the amount is collected from the payer's account to the payee's account, and sometimes if there is no fund or there is any mismatching of the data embedded in the electronic check, it is to be bounced or returned. So, this is about the electronic check. Next, we want to discuss about what are the advantages of using the e-check or the electronic check. It is faster processing, lower cost, customer payment options, and security and the reliability. These are the 4 or 5 advantages of electronic check. First, we will discuss about the faster processing factor. The electronic check, after writing through the electronic documents, it will be easily transferred to the payee, and the fund transfer it is done easily. In the traditional period, it will take 2 or 3 days or weeks, sometimes weeks, because the paper check it is to be collected by a particular bank named South Indian Bank. Then they will submit into the clearhouse. After it is verified by the bank check, that means sometimes it may be state bank check. So, they will give notifications to the state bank. After getting a green signal from the state bank, the amount is transferred to South Indian Bank. So, it will take more time. But in the case of electronic check, it is done electronically. So, we can do within a few minutes or hours. So, faster processing of e-check is much beneficial to the business people. They want fund easily. If there is does not get the fund, the cash cycle is to be drop out and it will badly affect the business. So, paper checks require many steps before the money moves from the customer's account to the merchant's account, which can take several days or weeks. But after eliminating the paper check into the electronic check, we can process with a few hours, which means the business gets its money faster and easily. This allows business to more easily manage their bills and creates a more stable financial position, financial soundness, financial situation for the business. Then the second advantage is that is the lower cost. It is very cheap. So, the business people are eager to adopt or implement this electronic check. But in the case of a paper check that is used by the traditional period, it will the financial banks, financial institutions charge a huge amount as a bank charge for the collection. But after eliminating the paper check into electronic system, they charge, the financial institution charge only a small amount as their bank charge. So, it is very cheap. The cost of an electronic check is much cheaper than that of a paper check. Processing payments online with electronic checks eliminates the need for stamps and envelopes. So, the paperwork and the time is also reduced by using the electronic check, which saves time and money for the consumers or the customers. Processing electronic check also saves money for merchants in processing cost, especially in the elimination of deposit and transaction fees. So, they will reduce the cost and time and the easily or effective fund transfer. Electronic check can also be an environmentally conscious choice since less paper is involved in printing and processing the checks. This is also an advantage of using the electronic check. Third one, that is the customer payment options. Customer can take any option which is relevant or reliable to the customers. Some customers do not possess a debit card or the credit card. At that time, they can use this electronic check system. This sometimes if they have no debit card or credit card, it limits the purchasing options, especially from online vendors, that is the e-commerce transactions. Business that accepts electronic checks will sell goods or service that might otherwise remain unavailable customers. So, this is an advantage of using the electronic check. And the last one, the security and the reliability. It gives a security and reliable one using the electronic check for the implementation of the online transactions like the e-commerce purchase. The electronic check is far more secure than paper check with an encrypted features. All the data which are embedded in the electronic check, which is encrypted data. The hijackers or the hackers does not easily enter or gather the informations which are embedded in the electronic check because it is an encrypted data. So, it is an popular or a major advantage of electronic check. So, the electronic check is far more secure than paper check with an encryption features that verifies the account number, amount and even uses a digital signature to check against the name of the account. So, these are the advantages of e-check. What are they? Faster processing, lower cost, customer payment options, security and the reliability. Next topic we want to discuss about what are the disadvantages of electronic check. All factors have advantages and disadvantages. Likewise, this e-check also have several disadvantages. What are they? First one, fraud potential, then the errors, absence of float and bouncing. These are the main disadvantages of using electronic check. We will discuss in detail the disadvantages. First one, that is fraud potential. That is always we already told that it is an encrypted data, but the hackers are very brilliant and intelligent. They eager or they can collect the information which are encrypted or otherwise. They have the ability to find out the data which are electronically transferred. That is an important disadvantage of e-check. As computers process electronic check, hackers can potentially get access to users' banking information. Some fraudulent business also offer electronic checks as a means to steal banking information. That is also an important factor. Some business also a fraud business persons, they are encouraging or they are doing the functions related to steal banking information. Then the second disadvantage of e-check, that is errors. All details embedded in the electronic check, that is the digital one. If there is any errors done in the digital writing or there is any error done in the digital signature, it will mislead the financial information. The computer-driven nature of electronic check also makes them subject to computer errors. For example, a fault in the processing might lead to a double withdrawal from account or an incorrect withdrawal amount. Sometimes we doing the procedure for the payment. After that, we go through that. After the verification or sometimes there is a delay in getting the authorization from the financial institution. So we may drop the transaction and again we will pay the payment procedure. So sometimes the transaction is invalid but our amount is debited by the payee. It will affect because of there is any errors done by the payer or at the time of network drawbacks or any other reasons. Sometimes OTP will not be entered directly. Likewise, some reasons to be occurred, it will lead to the errors in the encrypted data. Okay. Next one, the absence of float. In the case of the traditional method, in the case of paper checks, there is a float time during the to debit or credit the amount. What is the float time? When a person wants a payment from Mr. A, B requests to Mr. A to get a certain amount. At that time, Mr. A gives a check. But at that time, A's account have sufficient balance to clear this check. But Mr. A will get some more time to collect the amount from his account. That is, Mr. B collect the check from Mr. A and goes to their bank and submit for the collection. After that, the bank, the example South Indian Bank's check is given by the A. Then the B's bank is Federal Bank. B gives the South Indian banks of Mr. A to the bank of B, that is the Federal Bank. And the Federal Bank collects the check and goes to the clearing house. Then the clearing house giving an information about to the Mr. A's bank account. And after it have a sufficient balance, then it will be cleared by the clearing house. So the Mr. A will get some more time to deposit sufficient amount in his account. This floating time is eliminated by using the electronic check because the time consuming is very low. Mr. A gives the electronic check to Mr. B. Mr. B can easily gather or collect the fund from Mr. A. The time consuming for the processing is very low. That is an important disadvantage. The floating time is reduced. Mr. A have no time to invest or deposit sufficient balance to his account. If Mr. A have sufficient fund, at that time only he can give the electronic check. There is no floating time to deposit the sufficient amount to his account. That is an important disadvantage. Customers who opt to pay with e-checks are often at a disadvantage as the money is immediately debited from their account. In contrast, in the paper checks, that provides individuals with a float time during which they can debit sufficient funds into the bank account. Then the last disadvantages of e-check, that is the bouncing. Due to the sufficient funds in many individuals' bank account, their e-checks are often bounced or returned. That is followed by the disadvantages of absence of float. The Mr. A does not get a sufficient time, that is the floating time, to deposit the sufficient fund to his account. It will lead to the bouncing or returning of the check. So many individuals' checks, if it is a e-check, it will be bounced or returned. This not only causes delays in the payment transaction, but it increases the amount of time involved in returning and refunding payment transactions. So this is about the disadvantages of e-cash or e-cheque. What are they? Fraud potential, errors, absence of float and bouncing. So, I will give a summary about the e-cheque. First of all, it is a digital instrument. It is written by the payer or the account holder by using the digital device and using the digital signatures. After that, through the internet, it will be transferred electronically to the payee. After getting the electronic check from the payer to the payee, payee's bank verifies the authentication of the electronic equipment and the signature embedded in the electronic equipment. After that, they will credit the amount to the payee's account and give a debit to the payer's account. And this is the procedure involved in the e-cheque. There are many advantages and disadvantages. The participants involved in the e-cheque, that is the payer and the payee. Payer is the account holder, payee who receives the fund. Then the disadvantages and advantages of e-cheque. Advantages of e-cheque are faster processing, lower cost, customer payment options and the security and the reliability. Then what are the disadvantages? Fraud potential, errors, absence of float and the bouncing. Today's next topic, that is about the smart cards. What is meant by a smart card? It is a plastic card which is used for withdrawing and depositing the fund. But there is a chip, a golden color chip is embedded in the plastic card. That chip have a memory or microprocessor to serve or maintain the data and store the data of the financial information related to the person who is the holder of that particular plastic card. That is about a smart card. So, it is similar to a debit card or credit card in the shape only. But the plastic card contains an embedded computer chip, either a memory or microprocessor type that stores and transacts data. That is an important feature of a smart card. The microprocessor is under a gold contact pad on one side of the card. It identifies the data and inflow and outflow of the data. It is a small plastic card that has a built-in microprocessor to store and process data and records. That is an important function of the plastic card. That means smart card. It can be used with a smart card reader attachment to a personal computer to authenticate a user. For authentication, they will insert the smart card in your device, that is the digital device used by the account holder. Smart card has the facility to store the details about the customer, about the financial information only. It encrypts digital cash on a chip and can be refilled by connecting to a bank, that is an mediator or intermediary to give or the inflow and outflow of the data, that is the golden color chip which is embedded in the plastic card. A smart card contains more information than in other types of cards. That is an important feature. The ability of the chip to store more information in its memory like the card smart. So, it is called the name smart card. Okay. It can even make decisions as it has got powerful processing capabilities like a robot, have an intelligence and common sense, how to act, when to act, what to act, where to act. That is also known by this chip. Okay. So, the cards can be used to purchase goods and service. That is also an important factor. We use these smart cards for encouraging or doing the e-commerce transactions. Smart cards are very useful to merchants and the consumers to settle the transactions between them, that is the fund transfer, okay, financial transfer. Smart card provides a lot of benefits to consumers. It helps to manage expenditures more effectively, reduce the paperwork and ability to access multiple services and the internet. So, these are the good or benefits or merits of smart card. What are they? Manage expenditures more effectively, reduce paperwork, so reduce time also, ability to process multiple services and the internet facilities. So, a multiple application card can support service like a healthcare, travel and financial data access. We can port the smart card in any place, any location, and we can use for the different purposes like healthcare, travel and financial data access. Okay. So, to summarize the smart card benefits, we go through the 6 points. What are they? We already discussed: security, convenience, flexibility, control, international use and the interest free loan. Gives an advance or like a credit card. So, the financial institution give money as an advance. So, these are the advantages. First, security. Smart cards are secured because unauthorized access is prevented by lock function. Hackers cannot enter into these encrypted data because it is included or embedded in a small chip. So, the hackers cannot enter easily to this chip. Okay, the data is embedded in the chip. Next one, it is convenient to use since it is an easy method of payment. They can portable document, easily can you keep in your purse or your pocket. Okay. Next one, the flexibility. Because the smart cards can be used for all kind of purchase, although certain limits are set within each country. So, they can easily use for using different purposes. Then the control on spending with the limits of an existing amount on the card. It will restrict the overspending of the customers or the account holders. It will control the expensing habit of the customers. Then international use, these cards are highly useful as it allows cardholders to use the card when traveling or transferring money abroad also. That is an important one. Many people motivate before the pandemic effect. Many Indians, many people go to the abroad for visiting or spending your vacations. At that time also the persons can utilize this smart card in abroad also. That is an important advantage of the account holders. The next one, interest free loan. In comparison with a credit card, smart card allows consumers an interest free loan. The financial institutions give an advance money to use their smart card. So, these are the benefits of smart cards. What are they? Security, convenience, flexibility, control, international use and the interest free loan. Last, we want to discuss about the disadvantages of smart card. What are they? Security is a problem, chance of loss, slow adoption, possible risk of identify the theft. These are the main disadvantages of the smart card. First, we will discuss about the security. This security feature is also an advantage and disadvantage of a smart card. Why? What is the reason? At the time of discussing the advantages security, we already told that this authorized access is prevented by a lock function. That is an important factor which is discussed at the time of giving the advantages as a security. But here it is a disadvantages, the security. What is the reason? Level of security is another important disadvantage. Why? What is the reason? They are more secure than other cards. But they are not as secure as many of us would believe. Why? The false sense of security and someone might not be as diligent as protecting their card and the details it contains. If it is used by the illiterate persons, or they have does not know about the seriousness of using the smart card, they will give or share the information about their digital one to others. It will badly influence the hijackers or the hackers. That is the main drawback of the smart card. Unknowingly, we will give any information related to the smart card to others, share the information to others. It will influence the hijackers or the fraud persons. So, this affects the security of the smart card. That is an important one. Next one, the chance of loss. I already told that at the time of discussing the advantages, it is convenient to port. So, there is a chance of loss. Like a credit card and smart card are small, lightweight, and it easily can port. Similarly, it will lost, it is not handled properly. Unlike a credit cards and smart cards can have multiple uses, so the loss may be much more inconvenient. That is an important drawback or demerits of the smart cards. Sometimes we will forget the smart card in any place when it is used at the time of online ATMs or any other place. We will forget and drop the smart card in any place. It will affect the loss of the smart card because it is a small plastic card. That is an important drawback of the smart card. Next one, slow adoption. If used as a payment card, not every store or restaurant will have the hardware necessity to use these cards. That is an important disadvantage. Same updated institutions, some updated business organization only use or accept these smart cards. Small stores or the restaurants or any other shops does not accept, and they have no hardware which can accept this smart card. So, the account holders have the smart card does not use their smart card in these places like the small ventures. That is an important drawback of the smart card. One of the reasons for this is since the technology is more secure, it is also more expensive to produce and use. That is an important factor which is not adopted by the small retailer shops or the restaurants. Because while using the smart card or implementing the smart card, we have an updated technology and updated World Wide Web. Because of the lack of this updation of the technology or any other information, many of the stores or the restaurants or like the vendors does not accept the smart card. It will discourage the account holders to use the smart card in every time. That is an important drawback also. And the last one, possible risk of identify theft. There is no risk when used the smart card correctly for identification purpose by authorized officials. However, for criminals or seeking a new identity, they are like a treasure based on the amount of information it can contain on an individual. So, the risk is very more in the case of smart cards, and theft chances is very high in the case of smart card. So, these are the drawbacks or the demerits of using the smart cards. What are they? Security problem, chance of loss, slow adoption, and possible risk of identify the theft. And we can't reach or we can't search where it is theft by the hijackers or the hackers or the fraud peoples. These are the drawbacks of the smart cards. So, I will summarize the discussion about the smart card. So, it is a plastic card. There is a chip embedded in the plastic card. Thus, chip given function like a memory or microprocessor stores and maintains the data about the financial information. They give the flow of inflow and outflow of the financial information about that particular account holder. They will manage the financial information. Okay, so this is about the smart card. They have different advantages and disadvantages. What are the advantages of using the smart card? Dual secured, convenient, flexible, control, international use and interest-free loan. Similarly, there is a different demerits also. Security problem, chance of loss, slow adoption, possible risk of identify the theft. So, I will wind up my class. Today we already discussed about two different electronic payments, that is the online payment. What are they? First one, the electronic check, and second one, the smart card. I think all students can follow my class about the electronic check and the smart card, or can understand. Please go through the materials which are noted in your text, and if you have any doubts, please ask at the time of interaction. Okay, thank you.